Meet Chinere, the leader of the girl crew. Chinere, Bimbo, and Ene. They've always been friends, right from year one. The moment they met themselves in the same room, they clicked together and they've always stood by one another. Chinere is from a very wealthy home. Chinere is just a drama queen, and that's how she has always been. Nothing so special. She loves enjoying her parents' money and living her life the way she wanted in her own terms and condition. But she was very, very nice to her friends. Being that she was very wealthy, she didn't force anything on them. Chinere was that kind of person that when she goes shopping, she shops for everyone. And even if it was that time of the month to get foodstuff for the room, Chinere gets much. Whereby Bimbo, who is from a very normal home, a very stable home with no much income, doesn't even feel the pressure of looking for what to eat. Chinere always had her friends back. That was the kind of person Chinere is. Bimbo is a very nice cook. Bimbo loved to cook. So the moment Chinere makes foodstuffs available, Bimbo was always ready to make beautiful delicacies for the girls to eat. Whereas for Ene was the church girl. Ene came out from a very spiritual and godly home. Ene had made up her mind that she wasn't going to live the kind of life Chinere and Bimbo lived. Not like as if their life was bad in any way. Bimbo had a boyfriend while they were in school, and something came up between Bimbo and the boyfriend. Bimbo laid with him, and this supposed boyfriend Toby never married Bimbo, and that was something Ene never liked about the fact that Bimbo backslided one way or the other. Ene always told herself that she was going to keep herself pure to marriage. That was her rules, that was her terms and conditions when it comes to living a very beautiful life. But the two friends never judged her for it. They loved themselves the way they were. Chinere, a very nice, flexing lady. She was that kind of person that money does not attract her. Her parents gave her everything she wants. If she was dating a guy, she was dating him because of his looks. That was something Chinere does. These friends decided to stick to one another to the very end of life, being that they all knew their secrets. They knew everything that went down between themselves. They made sure to serve in the same states, and after service, they started applying to the same accounting firm because they all read accounting in school. They were all intelligent, they were outstanding when it comes to academics. After applying to the same accounting firm, as luck may have it, Bimbo got a job in a very different accounting firm from that of Chinere and Ene. Chinere and Ene got a job in the same accounting firm, and they were doing well for themselves. And while they were navigating life, living life the way they wanted, still staying in the same duplex as friends, Bimbo caught the eyes of a very wealthy man named Femi. Femi wasn't just rich. He was everything and more. He was an engineer. He had money. His parents owned different companies left, right, center of Lagos. They were swimming and dining with money. The first day, Femi invited Bimbo to his family home as he wanted to introduce the lady that caught his eyes to his parents. Bimbo was amused. Everything in the house was speaking luxury. From the staking, from the ties, these were no regular Nigerian ties. We are talking about Spain ties. The diamond set, the cutlery, the chairs, those ones were speaking Italian. God, Bimbo was amused. She didn't want to feel intimidated with Femi's wealth. Yes, she was from a poor background, but she worked herself to the point where she was. And Chinere, her friend, has always told her to keep her shoulder high. She should know her worth. For the fact that you're from a poor background doesn't mean people should trample on you. Bimbo composed herself, sat down, and dined at Degoki's. They loved her simplicity. They loved the way she spoke. They loved the way she was very, very polite, very respectful. And the fact that Bimbo was also a Yoruba made it an easy thing. They were also from the same place. So life was easy. And it didn't take long. Femi and Bimbo got married. So Bimbo was the first person to get married amongst the friends. After Bimbo got married, things were still moving on well for them. At least Bimbo wasn't pregnant yet. And whenever they hung out on Fridays, they just gisted and communicated. They had a WhatsApp group chat where they kept in touch. Whenever Bimbo was around, she barely said much. Being that Chinyere and Ene weren't married at that time and probably won't even understand marriage drama, she just said little. She made sure to pass the good information to their ears, and they were all happy for Bimbo. Being that she was married to a wealthy home, her husband's family got her a Mercedes as a wedding gift. Bimbo's class elevated in a very high way. Very, very high. Bimbo started wearing designers, carrying designers' bag. This was something Bimbo always wanted to do because her friend Chinyere always got for them. And she always felt bad that someone was gifting it to her. Now she had the opportunity to gift it back to Chinyere. And she was very comfortable. She wasn't too pompous. Bimbo has never been a pompous lady. Instead, she was that devoted wife, a loving wife, a wife that Femi always runs to. The moment Bimbo closes from work every day, Bimbo goes home and she makes her husband freshly cooked meal, freshly extracted juice. She was keeping up this wife duty, this wife material 100%. She didn't want to slack in any way. She was giving it to her husband anyhow he wants, wherever. She just wanted to be the perfect wife to Femi. Whatsoever Femi wanted, Bimbo does it for him. And it didn't take long. Ene got married. Ene got married to a very wealthy man too. But he wasn't as wealthy as Femi. He was a bank manager. He was very, very comfortable. And he was also a very good Christian. That was something Ene wanted. Her criteria for a man: number one, you have to be a Christian. After marriage, Ene moved into her husband's house and things started moving on well for her. So Chinyere was the last person to get married. But Chinyere wasn't bothered. She did not even see marriage as a criteria. She was okay the way she was. She was driving her car. She was going to work. She lived in freedom. She always wanted to live a very free life, and she was okay. Even while the two girls were married, Chinyere was still satisfied being single. After Ene got married, Ene, who is a virgin, has always lived in her own world of fantasy. She always desired a man that was going to be nice to her even on bed, being that she had kept herself pure for him. But after marriage, with her husband Ochezona, she noticed that things weren't the way she had imagined it in her brain to be. The first night with Oche, it felt okay, it felt good, it felt satisfying. Whenever she was a virgin, she didn't know how it's supposed to. But with the passing days, things started changing, things started tweaking. She noticed that sometimes she was still even yet to get into the process, and Oche was done. She thought to herself, don't tell me that Oche is among the people categorized as 10 minutes man. And she tried. She tried to talk to Oche about it. Oche told her that he was tired and so many things, that being a bank manager doesn't mean that he sits in his office doing nothing, that she shouldn't worry about it. He's going to work towards it. Everything is going to move on well. He had assured Ene. So Ene held on to these words and looked forward to having a very blissful marriage with Ochezona. 1 year down the line, while Chinyere was sitting in her office and handling some transaction, a handsome, tall, charming looking man walked up to her. His name is Ebuka. The moment Ebuka laid his eyes on Chinyere, he wanted to have her all to himself. He quickly dropped his complimentary card and collected Chinyere's number. He wasn't even the kind of person to waste time. He was a very rich business tycoon. He was already into the Lagos market. Everyone knew his name. He was the name that the moment you call, the only thing that comes out of people's mouths is money. Ebuka was dining and whining with wealth. Amongst the friends, Ebuka was the wealthiest. And it didn't take long. After 1 or 2 dates, he proposed to Chinyere, and Chinyere accepted without thinking it twice. She didn't even know why she was getting married to Ebuka. Was it because of love, or the fact that she felt that he could make her dreams come true, live the trophy wife she had always dreamt of, not having to run around the world in the name of going to the market or doing school runs? Ebuka was everything wealthy, so he could afford maids, drivers, and so many others. Chinyere and Ebuka got married, and things started moving on good for them. When it comes to wealth, going on vacation, Ebuka was spoiling Chinyere silly. And when it comes to bed matters, oh God, Ebuka was good on bed. In fact, she was glad that she got married to Ebuka. She was living her life. And whenever she met with the girls, she returned back to being the boastful Chinyere in school. Not like she was too boastful, but that has always been her nature. So her friends had to understand. Whenever they sat down in the restaurant, chit-chatting, talking about life, how they were navigating work and being a wife, Chinyere had nothing serious to say. She wasn't the type that runs home to go and cook any food though. She knows how to cook, but it was not something that gives her joy. So if Chinyere should go down to the kitchen to cook, that means she was in the mood to cook. The girls would talk about, especially Bimbo, who was at the praise and messes of her husband. Bimbo kept on praising her husband, Femi. Femi is this, Femi is that, Femi got me this. But in her midst of praising all the things Femi was doing in her life, probably Chinyere had just gotten the latest phone. Or Chinyere was using the latest Balenciaga bag. And it wasn't even the type of person to talk about what her husband was doing or not. She was just into the job. How girls, how is accounting? Hope people are breaking the legs. Hope people are getting more deals. Chinyere just sit and wait for people to notice her so that she could tell them what she had achieved in life. And it didn't take long. Bimbo took in. Bimbo was the only one expecting among the girls. They were really happy for her. Chinyere couldn't wait for Bimbo to give birth. She wanted to be the godmother. And Bimbo gave birth to a set of twins, a boy and a girl. Chinyere and Ene played the godparents of the twins. And while Bimbo was navigating the life of motherhood, trying to make sure her home was perfect, there was Ene, who took in not too long after Bimbo gave birth. Ene gave birth to a bouncing baby girl, and she was named Doshima. Ene loved her daughter because she was a replica of her. Doshima was everything and more to Ene. Chinyere wasn't even into doing pregnancy. She was still young in the marriage and she needed to enjoy herself. So one fateful day, Chinyere was hanging out with her colleague from work. They were having lunch. Obviously, in the most expensive restaurant. While they were eating, Chinyere sighted a figure that looked exactly like her husband. But she wasn't sure. She made sure to finish eating her lunch and she decided to go use the restroom. But while walking towards the restroom, she noticed that this figure was her husband. She wasn't certain if she should go in or not, as she didn't know if her husband was busy in a meeting or something. But she decided to peep through the red curtain, and lo and behold, that was her husband kissing another girl. Chinyere took 2 steps backward. She was shocked. She was confused. Why is Ebuka doing this? We just got married. But she didn't say anything. She smiled, lifted her chin, used the restroom, returned to her colleague, and went back to work. But at work, she asked herself, has he always been like this? Was he using money and everything to cover his bad deeds? But she quickly told herself, I'm not sure. Probably this is his first time. Probably something happened. She just wanted to give herself the silly excuse that Ebuka has never been a cheat. And that evening, for the very first time in 6 months, Chinyere went down to the kitchen and made Ebuka's favorite meal, ofe nsala. When Ebuka returned, it was so obvious that Chinyere made the meal because no maid was at home. While Ebuka sat down to eat, Chinyere just looked at him, not saying anything. She wasn't ready to ask him anything about it. She wanted to be sure. But deep within, she now had the thought that her husband was a cheat. She wasn't certain, but just that picture alone, that picture couldn't get off her head. Ebuka looked at her and asked her, "Why are you looking at me?" Chinyere said nothing. It's been long we had our private time together, so I just wanted to make sure I cook something nice for you. Ebuka smiled and said, "Thank you, my beautiful wife." Chinyere looked at him and could not say anything. A part of her was already broken. But guess what? The next day, Chinyere took herself shopping, and Ebuka was her good and calm driver. Knowing fully well that he had done something, he was ready to spend money on his beautiful wife. She just told herself shopping was going to help her ease her tension. Thank you for listening to this part of the story. Stay tuned for the part 2 because this story is filled with lots and lots of drama. Drama that you won't want to miss.